The Bible describes 24 elders seated around God's throne, crowned in gold, robed in white, enthroned beside the Almighty. But who are they? Why do they sit where even archangels do not? The identity of the 24 elders unveils a shocking truth. They are not distant celestial figures, but the glorified representatives of the redeemed. Their presence reveals a cosmic secret that could change how you see heaven and your destiny forever. When the heavens opened to John on the island of Patmos, he did not behold an empty sky, nor a vague vision of misty clouds, but the very architecture of eternity itself. What he saw would undo everything he thought he understood about heaven. Immediately I was in the Spirit, he writes, and behold, a throne set in heaven, and one sat on the throne. But it was not just one throne. That alone would have been enough to bring any man to his knees. The singular, burning epicenter of divine sovereignty, pulsing with jasper light and encircled by an emerald rainbow. Yet what stunned John even more were the thrones that surrounded it. 24 thrones, equal in height, equal in prominence, circling the throne of God like a cosmic council. And on each of them, a figure sat, clothed not in celestial flame nor angelic wings, but in white garments and wearing golden crowns. It was not the attire of angels. It was the garb of conquerors. And as John gazed, he did not describe them as spirits of fire or living creatures full of eyes. He called them elders, human, holy, enthroned. This was not a choir loft of worshipers. It was a royal court, a divine assembly, a mystery older than the foundations of the world. For who among men has the right to sit where only God reigns? Who can bear both the whiteness of righteousness and the weight of golden crowns? The sight shattered the categories of heaven we thought we knew. This was not heaven as we imagined it, silent, still, angelic. This was a kingdom already in motion, a government already assembled, and at its heart, a lamb yet to take the scroll. The vision demands a question. Why are these 24 here? Not standing, not bowing, sitting, sharing in a privilege that even Gabriel has never known. These are not cherubim, though cherubim are present. These are not seraphim, though their cries fill the air. These are not watchers, though the universe trembles under their gaze. These are something else entirely. Their posture speaks of completion. Their presence speaks of acceptance. Their crowns speak of triumph. And their location around the throne speaks of unspeakable proximity to the divine. The center is, and always will be, the throne of the Almighty. But around him, he has chosen to seat others, not as equals, never as rivals, but as witnesses to his glory and as participants in his reign. This alone would be breathtaking. But what follows deepens the mystery. Flashes of lightning and peals of thunder erupt from the center throne. 7 lamps of fire burn before it, which are the 7 spirits of God. A sea of glass, like crystal, stretches out before them, reflecting the fire, the light, the purity. And yet the elders remain seated, unafraid, unmoved, not because they are casual, but because they are welcomed. In a realm where even angels shield their faces, these elders look upon the throne unveiled. In a kingdom where seraphim cry, "Holy, holy, holy," without ceasing, these 24 sit in silence, in full communion, and they are not passive. Every time the living creatures give glory, they rise, they fall down before the throne, they cast their crowns, they worship, but then they return to their seats, not banished, not sent away, invited to sit again. The pattern is deliberate, it is liturgical, it is royal. But who are they? The scriptures do not name them. Revelation does not list them. Yet the clues are woven through the tapestry of redemption. The number 24 is no accident. It echoes the dual structure of God's covenant people, 12 tribes of Israel and 12 apostles of the Lamb. Old covenant and new, law and grace, Israel and the church. These elders do not represent one era of God's people. They represent all of them, from Abraham's tent to the upper room in Jerusalem, from Moses' tablets to Paul's letters. These thrones are the culmination of the story of salvation, but that still does not answer how humans came to sit on heavenly thrones. The answer lies in the Lamb and in the promises he gave, for he spoke plainly, "To him who overcomes, I will grant to sit with me on my throne, as I also overcame, and sat down with my Father on his throne." Revelation 3:21. This is not poetry, it is prophecy. These elders are the fulfillment of that promise. They are the overcomers, the redeemed who have finished the race, who have been glorified, and who now reign with Christ. They are not disembodied spirits. They are robed, they are crowned, they are seated, and they are seen. Their thrones are not metaphors. Their crowns are not allegories. They are real, tangible expressions of a mystery too great for earth to contain. These elders are not waiting for the kingdom. They are already in it, already reigning, already surrounding the throne, already casting their crowns before the Lamb. Their very existence declares that salvation is not only forgiveness, it is exaltation, that those justified by grace will also be glorified by union, that God does not merely save us to keep us, he saves us to raise us, to seat us, to crown us. This is why John wept when no one could open the scroll, because the elders knew what was at stake. They had lived through it. They had overcome. And now, seated around the throne, they waited for the only one who was worthy to break the seals of destiny. These elders are not above Christ. They are beneath him. They are not divine. They are redeemed, but their presence tells a greater story. The story of a God who does not reign alone, but who delights to share his authority with those who were once enemies, who turns rebels into royalty, slaves into sons, sinners into saints, and saints into kings. The thrones around the throne are not decorations. They are declarations that the Lamb has triumphed, that grace has prevailed, and that the redeemed now sit, not outside the presence of God, but within it, forever crowned, forever clothed, forever enthroned, forever his. Will you forever a devoted servant to God? Then like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And if you would like to bless the channel, click the Super Thanks button and become a member. That way, we can continue investing in research and improvements to bless your life even more. Now let us return, because the number 24 does not whisper, it declares. In the realm of Scripture, numbers do not exist as mere quantities. They are messages, patterns, revelations. And when John beholds the 24 elders seated around the throne of God, he is not witnessing a random assembly. He is beholding the divine arithmetic of redemption. 12 from the beginning has always been the number of divine government. The sons of Jacob, 12 tribes, became the foundation of the nation of Israel. Their names were inscribed on the 12 stones of the high priest's breastplate, pressed over his heart as he entered the Holy of Holies. Their identity was woven into the temple, the land, the festivals, the bloodline of the Messiah himself. The Old Covenant was built upon the 12, but when the Son of God walked the earth, he did not dismantle that structure. He built upon it. He chose 12 apostles, men not of noble birth but of heavenly calling, to become the foundation of a new covenant people, not replacing Israel, but fulfilling what Israel was always meant to be, a light to the nations, a vessel of mercy, a people formed not by law alone, but by spirit and truth. When Jesus said, "You who have followed me will also sit on 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel," he was not speaking in riddles. He was drawing a prophetic blueprint, 12 and 12, earth and heaven, law and grace, together 24. The elders seated around the throne are not celestial symbols. They are the living union of covenants fulfilled. They are the embodiment of the entire story of redemption, from Abraham to Pentecost, from Sinai to Calvary. They are the first fruits of what Jesus purchased with blood. They are not watching history. They are crowned because of it. The Old Covenant gave the promise. The New Covenant delivered the Lamb. The 24 elders are the marriage of the two, but their presence reveals more than continuity. It reveals identity. These elders are not angels. They wear what angels never do, crowns, and not just any crowns. The Greek word used is Stephanos, the wreath of the victor, the crown awarded not to kings by birth, but to conquerors by merit of triumph. Yet their triumph was not in their own strength. It was through the one who overcame. These are not angelic beings with innate glory. These are humans, redeemed, resurrected, glorified. They are not enthroned by nature, but by grace. They were not born holy, but made holy. And they now stand as eternal witnesses to what the cross accomplished. Not only the defeat of sin, but the exaltation of the redeemed. Their white robes speak of righteousness not earned, but imputed. Their thrones testify to a status once inconceivable. Who are these, clothed in white and crowned in gold? They are the sinners who repented, the broken who believed, the humble who endured. They are the sons and daughters of God, sealed by His Spirit, resurrected in His image, seated in His presence. And their number is not arbitrary. It is eternal mathematics. The number 24 spans the chasm between the testaments and fuses them into one people. As Paul wrote, he made the two one, Jew and Gentile, law and grace, one new man in Christ. The 24 elders are not divided into camps. They are unified, harmonized, glorified. Their thrones encircle the one who fulfilled both covenants. The symbolism stretches deep into the Old Testament. In the days of David, the priesthood was divided into 24 courses, each group taking its turn ministering before the Lord in the temple. It was a picture of order, of sacred duty, of intercession. Now in heaven, the true temple hosts not a symbolic 24, but the eternal fulfillment. Priests who are also kings, crowned intercessors who have not merely entered a sanctuary, but now dwell permanently in the presence of God. What David foreshadowed, Revelation unveils. The elders do not simply represent a people, they reveal a destiny. Every robe speaks of purity bestowed, every crown of victory secured, every throne of authority shared. The number is a mirror, showing us what awaits those who overcome, and they are not separated from us. They are the first among us, the down payment, the glimpse. Their enthronement is not a distant hope. It is a present reality in heaven's dimension. As Christ reigns, so do they. As He intercedes, so do they. As He rules, so shall we. Their number 24 anchors us in the continuity of God's plan. It tells us that the promises made to Abraham, to Moses, to David were not forgotten. And the promises made to the church, to the apostles, to the martyrs, to the faithful, are not delayed. All of it has found fulfillment in the one at the center of the throne. The 24 elders are not the heroes of heaven. They are the trophies of grace. They are what happens when the promises of God are not only believed, but completed. And their number is not a limit, but a sign that the story is not fragmented, but whole. That the covenants are not in competition, but in harmony. That heaven is not an escape from history, but the fulfillment of it. And so we look upon that circle of 24 thrones, not with envy, but with awe, because they do not close the door behind them. They are the first of many. They are seated, yes, but they are also waiting for the full company of the redeemed, waiting for the great marriage supper of the Lamb, waiting for the thrones yet to be filled. The number 24 is a beginning, not a ceiling, a revelation, not a limitation. It is the declaration that the old and the new have kissed, that the redeemed have risen, and that the church is already at the heart of heaven's court. The elders are not angelic administrators. They are human heirs. And their number, formed from the 12s of Israel and the 12s of the Lamb, tells us one thing. The plan was always to bring us here, to seat us near, to clothe us in white, to crown us with gold, to number us with glory. The garments shimmer like lightning, radiant white, untouched by shadow, pure as the sea of glass beneath the throne. They are not ornamental, they are not decorative, they are evidence. The elders, these 24 enthroned witnesses, are clothed in robes that testify not to angelic nature, but to divine redemption. White garments have always carried weight in Scripture. garments of priests purified for sacrifice, robes of saints washed in the blood of the Lamb, the promised covering for those who overcome the world. In Revelation 3:5, Christ himself declares, "He who overcomes shall be clothed in white garments, and I will not blot out his name from the book of life." And now, here they are, overcomers, enthroned and arrayed in the very garments he pledged. These are not angelic beings, draped in celestial fashion. These are humans made holy, not by effort, but by blood, not by legacy, but by grace. The white robes are not a uniform. They are a victory banner, a testament to a life that once knew sin, that was washed, renewed, transformed. They are clothed in what Christ wore at his transfiguration, what the angels wore at his tomb, what the martyrs will wear at the resurrection. They wear his righteousness, not their own. And if the robes declare their purity, the crowns declare their triumph. On each brow rests a Stephanos, not a diadem of rule by right, but a wreath of victory by perseverance. This is not the crown of an emperor. It is the crown of a runner who finished the race. It is the reward Paul spoke of when he said, "There is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord will award to me on that day." It is the same Stephanos worn by the one who bore thorns to give us glory. These crowns are not golden hats of honor. They are the proof that death was defeated, that temptation was resisted, that the enemy could not hold them, that the cross was not in vain. Angels do not wear such crowns, for they never sinned, they never battled the flesh, they never wept for forgiveness or cried out for mercy. Only the redeemed can wear them. Only those who stumbled, repented, endured, and so these elders do not sit as detached spectators. They are not historians of divine prophecy. They are participants in it. Their garments and crowns declare it. They lived the story. They walked through the valley of death and rose into the courts of light, and now seated before the throne, they do not marvel at the Lamb as strangers. They worship him as those who know exactly what he has done. Every robe is a reminder that he cleanses. Every crown is a witness that he conquers. They do not merely admire his sacrifice, they embody its fruit. Their garments sing of justification. Their crowns echo sanctification. Their thrones whisper of glorification. And together they form a living tapestry of salvation's full arc. Theirs is not a passive presence. They are not angelic servants awaiting command. They are sons and daughters adopted into royalty. They are priests and kings, as Revelation declares, who shall reign on the earth. They are the first citizens of the new creation, already crowned, already clothed, already seated. And the symbolism does not stop there. The white garments reflect light, just as we are called to reflect the light of Christ. The crowns gleam with weight and brilliance, just as the trials we endure are called a weight of glory. Everything they wear has meaning. Nothing is by accident. Their clothing is a sermon. Their crowns are a prophecy. Their thrones are a destiny. And what they do, what they repeatedly do, is cast those crowns before the throne. They do not cling to their reward. They lay it down, again and again. Every time the living creatures cry, "Holy, holy, holy," the elders respond, not with applause, not with analysis, but with surrender. They rise from their thrones, they fall on their faces, and they throw their crowns before the one who is worthy, because they know what those crowns cost, not their effort, his blood, not their performance, his obedience. And in that moment, all of heaven sees the greatest truth of the gospel, that every reward we receive is still grace, that even our crowns belong to him. These elders show us what redeemed worship looks like. It is not spectacle, it is surrender. It is not pride in our holiness, it is humility in his. They do not sing new songs because they are creative. They sing because they are grateful, because they have seen the pit and been pulled from it, because they once were enemies and now are heirs, because they once wept in secret and now reign in glory. The white garments are not reminders of perfection, but of forgiveness. The crowns are not symbols of power, but of promises kept. and their presence at the throne is not a metaphor, it is a fulfillment. A sign that the Lamb has not only risen, but has brought others with him, that his resurrection was not a solitary event, but the firstborn among many. These 24 elders are the image of what awaits every believer who endures. Not only to be saved, but to be changed, not only to be spared, but to be crowned, and not only to be justified, but to be enthroned. This is the inheritance of the saints, not that we might become divine, but that we might become fully human, restored, redeemed, radiant. The elders do not sit above us, they point ahead of us. They are what we will be. They are what grace makes possible. They are what the gospel was always meant to produce. And so we do not study them as relics. We see them as reflections of what Christ has done, of what he is doing, and of what he will complete when every child of God stands, not in shame, but in white, not in silence, but in song, not in fear, but with a crown in hand, ready to lay it at his feet. The throne room does not tremble with chaos, nor echo with the clamor of war. It pulses with worship so pure, so unbroken, that it transcends sound itself. At its center, the Lamb appears, not as a roaring lion, not as a blazing warrior, but as one who had been slain. The marks are visible, the wounds are still written on his glorified flesh, and yet he stands, alive, eternal, radiant, as he moves forward to take the scroll from the right hand of the one seated on the throne. All of heaven holds its breath. The living creatures, full of eyes and wings, break into exaltation. But the elders, those crowned and clothed in white, do not simply sing, they fall. Not backward, not away, but forward. Prostrate, humbled, undone, not because they fear judgment, but because they are overwhelmed by the sheer holiness, the unbearable mercy, the unspeakable worth of the one they behold. And in that motion, a motion born not of fear, but of reverent awe, they remove from their brows the very crowns they were given, and they cast them before the Lamb. Not once, not symbolically, continually. Every time the holiness of God is declared, every time the creatures cry out, every time the heavens resound with glory, the elders respond the same way, by returning the gift. They take the Stephanos, the hard-won crown of the overcomer, and they place it not in a treasury, not on a pedestal, but at the feet of the one who made it possible. Their crowns are real. Their thrones are real. Their authority is real. But none of it is claimed as their own, because they know what we so easily forget, that no matter how high they have been raised, they were once fallen, that their righteousness was not earned, it was imparted, that their victory was not achieved, it was received. And so the crown does not become a symbol of pride. It becomes a symbol of gratitude. Every reward is surrendered, every honor laid down. Because the elders understand a truth that echoes through every redeemed soul, that we reign because he died, that we stand because he knelt, that we are lifted because he was pierced. The posture of the elders is the final rebuke to human boasting. Even in heaven, where thrones are occupied and crowns are worn, nothing belongs to the self. The authority they exercise is not native to them. It flows from the one on the central throne. Their garments may shine, their seats may be exalted, but their hearts are bowed low in continual recognition that grace alone has brought them here. The casting of crowns is not an isolated act. It is the rhythm of heaven. It is the heartbeat of worship that refuses to exalt the creature, even when the creature is glorified. And so they throw down their crowns again and again, not because they are unworthy to wear them, but because the one before them is infinitely more worthy to receive them. They know what it cost. They remember what they were. They carry within their praise the memory of being lost and now found, broken and now healed, guilty and now justified. Every elder who casts a crown is declaring silently but powerfully, "He did this, not me, not my wisdom, not my strength, not my righteousness. He did this." Their worship is not words alone. It is surrender. It is sacrifice. It is the joyful relinquishing of every earned thing, every honored position, every sacred reward, because all of it pales before the presence of the Lamb. This is the true nature of heaven, not a hierarchy of saints, but a harmony of surrendered glory. The elders are enthroned, but they never forget the cross. They are crowned, but they never cease to bow. Their honor does not make them proud. It makes them worshipers. And what they teach us, what their continual casting shows, is that eternal life is not merely about being rewarded, but about forever recognizing who made the reward possible. The crowns are beautiful, yes, but the hands that bear the scars are more beautiful still. And so they lay them down, again and again and again, not to reject the gift, but to return it in love. Because in that moment, they are not just kings, they are children, bringing their treasures to their Father. The Lamb receives what was once his, multiplied now in the lives of the redeemed. He sees in every surrendered crown the echo of his own victory, the ripple effect of Calvary crashing through the corridors of eternity. Every cast crown is a hallelujah without words, a declaration that the Lamb is still central, still supreme, still sovereign. And this is what heaven teaches us. That worship is not noise, it is humility. It is not just praise, it is perspective. It is not about our position, but his. Even when we are lifted, even when we are honored, even when we are seated, we are still servants of the Lamb. The elders show us that the highest place a redeemed soul can reach is still one of surrender, that no matter how glorified we become, we never graduate from grace. The crown was never ours to keep. It was always a mirror, reflecting the beauty of the one who gave it. And so they fall again, and they cast again, and they rise again. And the cycle continues, not as repetition, but as eternal rhythm. Grace received, glory returned, mercy remembered, majesty praised. This is the true meaning of worship. This is what heaven looks like. And this is what we were made for. Not only to be saved, but to surrender. Not only to be lifted, but to lay down. Not only to be crowned, but to cast, forever, at his feet. The silence breaks not with thunder, but with song, a song no angel can sing, no cherub can echo, no seraphim can imitate. It rises from the mouths of those who have been lifted from the grave of shame into the halls of glory. And it carries a melody only possible through pain, through blood, through mercy. In Revelation chapter 5, as the Lamb takes the scroll sealed with 7 seals, the scroll containing the decrees of destiny, the living creatures fall in worship, but something greater happens. The 24 elders lift their voices, and a new sound fills heaven. It is not ancient like the hymn of creation. It is not static like the cry of the seraphim. It is new. A song never heard in the heavens until the Lamb bore scars. A song that was impossible until Golgotha stained the soil with divine blood. A song that did not exist in eternity past because it was forged in the furnace of redemption. You are worthy to take the scroll and to open its seals, for you were slain and have redeemed us to God by your blood, out of every tribe and tongue and people and nation. These words are not poetic flattery. They are testimony. No angel can say, "You have redeemed us." No spiritual creature has tasted sin or known guilt or felt the weight of separation from God. The elders, however, have. Their song is not theoretical. It is personal. It is birthed from experience. It carries the tone of former sinners who now shine in holiness, former rebels now crowned in righteousness. This song is human, and it echoes through the highest courts of heaven, not as a novelty, but as the very sound heaven had been waiting to hear. Since Eden's gates closed behind the first exiles, the cherubim guarded the tree of life with flaming swords, but now they stand in awe as those once banished sing of a greater garden, a better covenant, a blood that speaks louder than Abel's. This new song is not merely about salvation. It is about inclusion. From every tribe, tongue, people, and nation, The blood of the Lamb did not trickle for one people, it poured for all. The song is multilingual, multicolored, multi-historied, and singular in purpose, to glorify the Lamb who made the many one. It is the sound of a global bride, once fractured by sin, now united by sacrifice. The elders do not sing alone because they are better. They sing alone because they are witnesses. They are the first among the redeemed to stand in that place. And their voices carry the weight of humanity's long ache for restoration. When they sing, the agony of the martyrs is heard. The tears of the prophets are remembered. The obedience of the apostles is celebrated. Their song carries centuries, millennia, every cry for a savior, every hope for deliverance, every trembling faith that clung to the promise. All of it lives in this song. The melody is drenched in blood, yet it shines with glory. It is filled with the names of those who were healed, delivered, called, chosen. This is the anthem of the cross, sung not from a distance, but from thrones of fulfilled prophecy. The angels marvel. They cannot join. Their harmonies are reserved for God's holiness. But this song is born of grace, and only grace-scarred lips can utter its lines. It is the music of the redeemed, and it rings louder than the trumpets, clearer than the harps, deeper than the thunders. And what is more, this song empowers. The next line does not end with gratitude, but with destiny. And you have made us kings and priests to our God, and we shall reign on the earth. This is not only backward-looking adoration, it is forward-moving declaration. The elders understand that salvation was not the end, but the beginning. That redemption was the gate into rule. That the Lamb did not just save them from sin, he called them into service, kings and priests, authority and intimacy, governance and worship, the dual identity of every believer. The song proclaims not only what was done, but what is coming. The redeemed will not only sing, they will reign. They will not only worship, they will intercede. The Lamb who was slain is also the King who commissions. And the elders sing it before the throne to remind heaven and hell alike that the blood was not spilled in vain. This song is not abstract. It is dangerous because every note declares that darkness has lost, that Satan's accusation has been silenced, that death's sting has been removed, that every power that once ruled over mankind has been dethroned by the pierced hands of the Lamb. The song is war and peace. It is triumph and tenderness. It is resurrection, set to melody. And its first singers are seated in glory, wearing white, casting crowns, lifting voices not out of obligation, but out of joy. Their song is the sound of chains breaking forever, and it spreads. As they sing, the song expands. 10,000 times, 10,000 angels begin to echo their theme. Not in the same voice, they cannot sing, "You have redeemed us," but they can declare, "Worthy is the Lamb who was slain." They sing not of personal salvation, but of divine victory, the song of the redeemed births, a choir of the universe. Creation joins in. The sea, the earth, the heavens, all respond. But it begins with the elders, with the four living creatures, with the ones who know what it means to be rescued. And in that moment, worship becomes something it had never been before. It becomes complete, because for the first time, the redeemed are present to join it. For the first time, the voice of humanity rises, not in rebellion, not in questioning, but in perfect harmony with heaven. The breach between creator and creature is healed, and the proof is in the song. This is the melody we are being prepared to sing. It is not reserved for the talented or the musically gifted. It is for those whose hearts have been touched by grace, for those who once were lost, but now are found. The new song is a mirror. It reflects not our achievements, but his sacrifice. Not our voice, but his mercy. And every time it rises, the heavens are reminded that redemption has been accomplished, that the Lamb has prevailed, and that we, flesh and dust, weak and wounded, have been brought near. The elders show us the destiny of worship and its cost. They sing what angels cannot, and they invite us, by blood and by faith, to prepare our voices for the day when we too will join the song, Only the redeemed can sing. In the dazzling heart of heaven, where thunder rolls and lightning arcs from the throne, the 24 elders sit not as silent symbols, but as living evidence of a promise already kept. A promise made not in the grandeur of heaven, but in the humble words of a risen Savior to a struggling church. To him who overcomes, I will grant to sit with me on my throne. These words, spoken to the church of Laodicea in Revelation 3:21, are not poetic metaphors. They are covenant declarations. And now before John's eyes, that promise stands fulfilled. The elders, enthroned around the throne of God, do not merely represent human redemption, they embody the next stage of it, participation in divine rule. They do not reign later, they reign now. They are not waiting to inherit, they have inherited, and their presence is not ornamental. It is governmental. For thrones in heaven are not furniture, they are functions. They signify authority, partnership, and divine intimacy. These elders are not spectators, they are seated with the Lamb, surrounding him in a circle of shared rule, a royal council made not of angels, but of once fallen humans, now crowned and glorified. This image is staggering. Heaven is not populated by archangels alone. It is not ruled by God in isolation. He has made room beside him for the redeemed. Thrones that once belonged to the courtroom of judgment have become thrones of communion, where grace enthrones those who once deserved wrath. And this is not myth, this is not wishful theology. This is the explicit, visible fulfillment of what Jesus promised, that those who suffer with him will also reign with him, that those who deny themselves will be lifted by him, that the meek, not the mighty, shall inherit the earth. The elders are not distant figures. They are the down payment of a church destined not just to be forgiven, but to be exalted. Their rule is not tyrannical, but priestly. They do not govern by force, but by presence. They reign by remaining near the Lamb, by echoing his worship, by interceding on behalf of the saints. Their thrones are not apart from the Lamb's. They surround it, declaring that proximity to Christ is the reward, and that true authority flows only from intimacy. These elders did not ascend by ambition. They were raised by mercy. They did not conquer by strength. They overcame by faith. And now they sit, not as kings in their own right, but as those who reflect the rule of the Son of Man, Jesus, who became human to elevate humanity. The elders' shared rule reminds us that salvation is not merely evacuation, it is elevation. The church is not simply pulled from darkness, it is placed in light. It is not merely cleansed, it is clothed in glory. We are not just saved from something, we are saved into something, into a kingdom, into a priesthood, into a throne room, into a partnership with the eternal King, who said, "All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me," and then entrusted that authority to those he called brethren. The elders, seated, crowned, robed, are the first glimpse of a redeemed humanity fully restored. They are what Adam forfeited in Eden, now reclaimed through the second Adam, who did not grasp at divine power but humbled himself unto death, and now shares his glory with those who follow him. And it is no accident that they are seated. In the ancient world, to be seated meant your work was done. A standing priest was still laboring. A seated king had finished. The elders are seated because redemption is finished. They are enthroned because the Lamb's blood was enough. They no longer strive for righteousness. It has been granted. They no longer run the race. It has been won. And in their stillness, they reign. The church often imagines heaven as a place where rest replaces responsibility. But the elders show us a different picture. Heaven is not the end of purpose. It is the fulfillment of it. Their thrones declare that God does not only save us to rescue us, he saves us to trust us, to partner with us, to seat us with Christ in heavenly places, as Paul wrote in Ephesians. And this isn't future tense, it is present. The elders reign now because the church is already in union with Christ. Though we still walk in time, our position is already secured in eternity. The elders are the visible proof. The throne is not merely for the Son, it is shared with the sons and daughters he purchased. And in that sharing, we glimpse the true heart of God. Not a tyrant hoarding glory, but a father lifting his children into it. This is not blasphemy. It is grace. It is the same grace that said the prodigal would not just be forgiven, but robed, not just welcomed, but celebrated, not just fed, but restored with ring and shoes and honor. The elders are the prodigals who believed, who returned, who received, and now they sit, not outside the house, but at the family table. Their crowns are not symbols of dominion, but of delight. Their thrones are not emblems of separation, but of oneness, and their posture calls to every believer. This is your future. This is your inheritance. This is the destiny of those who overcome. The elders are not relics of history. They are the heralds of what is to come for all who belong to the Lamb, and their rule is a call to responsibility, because if this is what we are saved into, then our present lives must reflect that future glory. We are not merely sinners, barely forgiven. We are heirs being prepared. We are not just waiting for heaven. We are being shaped for thrones. And every act of obedience, every moment of suffering, every whisper of surrender is not forgotten. It is being woven into the garments we will one day wear, the crowns we will one day cast, the thrones we will one day share. The elders do not reign as a closed circle. They reign as the beginning of a greater multitude, a multitude from every nation, tribe, and tongue, who will one day rise and take their place beside the Lamb, not as strangers, but as sons, not as slaves, but as rulers, not in competition, but in communion. Their shared rule is our shared hope, and their seated glory is the echo of a gospel that does not just save from wrath, but invites into royalty. The throne is not empty. The seats are not reserved for a distant future. The crowns are not waiting on a shelf for history to expire. They are already worn. They are already cast. They are already echoing with the cries of the redeemed. What John saw in the heavens was not a prophecy of things delayed, but a revelation of things already begun. The heavenly government is not a future establishment. It is a present reality. The 24 elders are not placeholders. They are participants. They are not symbolic projections of what might one day be. They are living confirmations of what Christ has already accomplished. They sit because the King has sat down. They reign because the Lamb has triumphed. They surround the throne not as guests awaiting instructions, but as the first citizens of a kingdom already inaugurated. Redemption is not pending, it is finished. And because it is finished, the seats of authority are already occupied by those whom grace has lifted. The church is not merely marching toward glory, it is already enthroned with Christ in heavenly places. Paul did not speculate when he wrote that God raised us up with Christ and seated us with him in the heavenly realms. Ephesians 2:6. He declared it. The enthronement of the church is not an abstract hope. It is a spiritual reality. And John saw it with his eyes. He saw what earth cannot yet see, that in the invisible realm, where eternity intersects with time, the redeemed are already represented, already enthroned, already ruling, not because of their deeds, but because of his cross. The presence of the elders means the kingdom is not merely coming, it is already here, not in its fullness, but in its foundation, not in external governments, but in internal reign, not in earthly thrones, but in heavenly authority. And their posture proves it. They do not fidget as those unsure of their place. They do not stand in hesitation. They sit, they worship, they act. And every time the scroll is opened, every time the Lamb is declared worthy, every time judgment is released, they are there, not as passive witnesses, but as honored presences. Their very existence within the throne room rewrites our understanding of time. We are not waiting for the age of glory. We are already in it. We are not distant from heaven. We are already represented within it. The church is not merely a body on earth. It is a body whose head is already seated above all powers and authorities. And because he is seated, those in him are also enthroned. This truth shatters the lie that heaven is only about the afterlife. Heaven is about right now, about a Lamb who reigns, about a people already gathered, about a worship already rising, about a kingdom already built. The elders remind us that heaven is not static, it is active. The scroll is moving, The seals are breaking. The judgments are coming. The praise is ascending. The Lamb is not pacing, waiting for his moment. He is ruling. He is worthy. And the elders are the chorus of confirmation. They prove that death has already been defeated, that resurrection is not merely past, it is present, that the gospel does not only save, it enthrones. The heavenly government is not an angelic monopoly, it is a redeemed communion. Humans, once broken, once sinful, once banished, now rule with Christ. This is not heresy, it is the heart of the gospel, that God would take the low and lift them high, that he would make sons out of orphans, priests out of prodigals, rulers out of the ruined. This is the meaning of adoption, that we not only belong to him, but that we share in his inheritance, that we not only worship the King, but reign with him. The elders are the visible seal of that reality, and every crown they cast is a legal declaration. The Lamb is on the throne, and his people reign with him. The scroll in the Lamb's hand is not untouched. It is taken. History is not spiraling into chaos. It is unfolding according to divine decree. Heaven is not idle. It is engaged. And the elders are not dreaming of their future. They are living in it. The same must be said of us. Though our eyes do not yet see the throne room, our hearts must live from it. We are not crawling toward God's kingdom. We are already citizens of it, already seated in its courts, already bound by its laws, already covered in its righteousness. The presence of the elders calls us higher, to see past delay and into divine reality. The church does not belong to the future, it belongs to the throne. Before we continue, if this content has blessed your life, like, comment, and share. Subscribe to the channel, and if you would like to bless the channel, click the Super Thanks button and leave an offering of any amount or become a member. That way, we can continue investing in research and improvements to bless your life even more. Now let us return to the mystery that has echoed since eternity. What John saw was not just a window into glory. It was a mirror of our destiny. The elders are seated because the Lamb reigns, and the Lamb reigns because the work is done. This is not only heaven's structure, it is heaven's declaration. That grace works, that salvation transforms, that sinners are turned into sons, and sons into rulers, that the cross is not only an altar, it is a throne, and every crown laid at his feet is proof that the kingdom has come, and it will not pass away. The heavenly government has begun. The Lamb has taken his place, and around him thrones are filled. The silence has been broken. The scroll has been taken. The redeemed are already reigning, and the kingdom is already here. When the Lamb steps forward to take the scroll from the right hand of the one seated on the throne, all of heaven erupts into thunderous praise. But before the angels cry, before creation joins the chorus, it is the elders who respond first. They rise from their thrones, robes shimmering like the dawn, and fall once more to the crystal floor of heaven. Not out of habit, but out of holy compulsion. They fall as those who understand the gravity of the moment, who feel the weight of what the scroll contains, who know that what is about to unfold will shake the heavens and the earth. But their fall is not empty. It is accompanied by an offering. In their hands are harps, not for entertainment, but for worship, and golden bowls, full to the brim. Not with incense, not with relics, but with the prayers of the saints. Not forgotten whispers, not discarded pleas, not unanswered cries, but preserved, collected, carried. The elders do not hold power alone. They hold memory. They are not just kings, they are priests. And their ministry is not a ritual, it is intercession. These golden bowls are not symbolic flourishes. They are sacred vessels filled with the longings of the church, with the intercessions of generations, with the groans of martyrs and the petitions of mothers, the laments of prophets, and the desperate tears of sinners who have cried out in the night for justice, for healing, for mercy, for God. The elders have not forgotten. Heaven has not moved on. Every prayer has been gathered, not by machines or anonymous hands, but by the glorified redeemed themselves. Those who once prayed just like us, who once wept just like us, who now reign, but still carry the fragrance of earthbound cries. These elders are the living link between what is seen and what is unseen, between time and eternity, between suffering and glory. And they do not just reign, they remember. They are not detached observers, but participants in the great redemption narrative. They hold the evidence of the church's travail. And when the Lamb takes the scroll, they are the first to declare his worthiness, not with words alone, but with worship fueled by the memory of his sacrifice and the agony of the world that still waits. Their harps are not just for song, they are for declaration. They are the instruments of heavenly witness, proclaiming that the Lamb has conquered. And their bowls are not just containers, they are testimonies that no act of faith, no whispered prayer, no cry in the night has ever been wasted. These prayers are not buried, they are preserved. They have not fallen to the ground. They rise now as incense before the throne, offered not by trembling hands, but by glorified saints who stand in the very presence of God. The elders do not simply represent victory, they mediate remembrance. They do not only sit in power, they kneel in intercession. Their very posture, rising, falling, holding, offering, reveals that in heaven, worship is more than song. It is service, it is priesthood, it is participation in the ongoing work of God's justice and mercy. And it is deeply human. No angel holds the prayers of the saints. That honor belongs to those who know what it means to pray. The elders know because they were once among us. Their intercession is not mechanical, it is personal. They remember what it felt like to be weak, to wonder if God was listening, to pray through tears, to carry burdens that seemed unbearable. And now, robed in glory, they bring those very prayers before the throne. Not one is lost, not one is too small, not one has faded. The presence of these elders assures us that heaven is not deaf to earth's agony, that the throne of God is not insulated from the cries of his people, that in the highest council of eternity, our voices are heard, treasured, and responded to. The elders stand not only as witnesses of the Lamb's worthiness, but as proof that his redemption is not theoretical, it is effective, that it transforms sinners into saints, beggars into priests, mortals into kings. They hold the prayers of the saints because they themselves were once the saints who prayed, and now enthroned, they continue the work, not of earning grace, but of echoing it, of interceding with full confidence, not as those seeking access, but as those who dwell in it. Their role is not static, it is dynamic. They are part of the movement of heaven's plan, part of the unfolding of the scroll, part of the response of heaven to the condition of earth. And this is their glory, not that they have escaped the world, but that they now reign on behalf of it, that they stand in the gap between what is and what will be, that they carry both memory and mission. Their crowns declare victory, their robes declare righteousness, their harps declare worship, but their bowls, those golden overflowing bowls, declare something even more intimate, that God listens, that God remembers, that God answers, and that the prayers we think vanish into silence are actually gathered into gold. The elders bear that testimony, not in theory, in their hands. Their presence assures us that the Lamb is not worshipped in isolation, but surrounded by those who know what it means to suffer, to hope, to endure. And now, in that place beyond pain, they still lift our names. They still lift our cries. They still lift our prayers. The Lamb is worthy not only because he was slain, but because his blood was not wasted. The proof of that worthiness is not just in his wounds, it is in their worship, in their posture, in their ministry, in their continual offering of the very voices he died to redeem. And so the elders remain at the center, not because of who they are, but because of what he did. They are the living fruit of the cross, the first echoes of what the church will become, and the constant reminder that every cry heard on earth has a place in heaven. The prayers of the saints are not stored in archives. They are placed in bowls of gold, offered with reverence, carried by hands, once stained by sin, now lifted in glory. And in that eternal moment, as the Lamb takes the scroll, their offering rises, worship burns, and redemption continues, through praise, through memory, through the very people he saved. As the first seal is broken and the scroll begins to unravel, the atmosphere of heaven shifts. Not into panic, not into chaos, but into divine purpose. The judgments of God are not accidents of wrath. They are the calculated unfolding of redemption's final chapter. And through every thunderclap of judgment, every roar of seal and trumpet and bowl, the elders remain. They do not vanish from the scene. They do not retreat to safety. They do not tremble in uncertainty. They stay, seated, worshipful, unshaken. The same elders who fell in adoration when the Lamb appeared now remain steadfast as he begins to unleash the full counsel of the scroll's contents. They are not surprised. They are not offended. They know the one who breaks the seals. They recognize the hands that carry both wounds and authority. And because they know the Lamb, they do not question his justice. They trust his judgments, for the one who releases wrath is the same who bore it. The elders, more than any, understand this. They remember what it was to deserve judgment and receive mercy instead. They remember the cross not as legend, but as lifeline. And so they do not fear the judgments. They discern their meaning. They know that judgment is not the end of grace, but the enforcement of it. They know that wrath is not God's loss of control, but the final vindication of his holiness. And because they have passed through the fire, they now reign beside the flame. Their presence through the judgments is no small detail. It is a declaration that even in wrath, God remembers mercy. That the redeemed are not erased from the story when justice is poured out. They are centered in it. The elders remain, not because they are exempt from God's authority, but because they are included in it. They are not judges, but they are witnesses. They are not executors, but they are evidences. Evidence that grace works. Evidence that redemption reaches. Evidence that what the Lamb accomplished on Calvary still holds true, even when the skies darken and the earth trembles. Their silence in the midst of the seventh seal, when all of heaven grows still, is not a sign of fear. It is the silence of reverence, the stillness of those who understand that something sacred is about to happen. They do not speak because they know some moments require awe, not analysis. And when the trumpets sound, they do not cover their ears. They lift their hearts. Their worship continues. Their presence remains. Their crowns are still cast. The elders are not overwhelmed by the judgments. They are anchored in the one who issues them. And their continuity through the seals and trumpets and bowls reassures the reader that redemption is not overthrown by wrath. It is completed through it. That the same Lamb who bore the sin of the world is now bearing the scroll of the world's destiny, and that no act of divine judgment is divorced from the love that sent him to the cross. The elders understand what we often forget, that judgment is not a contradiction to mercy. It is its fulfillment. Because love that does not hate evil is not love at all. And so, when the stars fall and the mountains quake, when men hide in caves and kings cry for death, the elders remain on their thrones, not aloof, but at peace, not blind, but believing. Their faces are not distorted with dread, but serene with understanding, because they have seen the end from the beginning. They have walked the valley. They have known the pit. And now they reign beside the one who passed through death to bring life. They are not numb to the pain of the world. They remember it. They are not indifferent to the cries of the earth. They once cried too, but now they sing. Now they intercede. Now they testify that even as God shakes the earth, he does not abandon the redeemed. That even as he judges rebellion, he preserves the faithful. The elders are a standing rebuke to the lie, that judgment means God has turned his face. On the contrary, the Lamb is at the center of it all, and the elders remain close to him, seated, robed, crowned, still worshiping, still casting, still proclaiming, "Worthy is the Lamb." And this is what gives the church hope in the face of tribulation. Not the absence of trial, but the promise of presence. The elders show us that we are not kept from the storm by being removed from the world. We are kept by being hidden in Christ. Their steadfastness through the scroll's breaking tells us that we too can endure, that the one who sealed us will keep us, that the fire will not consume us, only refine us, that the wrath poured out will not reach those covered in the blood. The elders have already passed through the true judgment, the wrath of God poured on Jesus in their place. What remains is not wrath for them, but witness. They now stand, better yet sit, as proof that no condemnation remains for those in Christ. Their crowns did not exempt them from tribulation. They were forged through it. Their white robes are not signs of easy living. They are evidence of a Savior who washed them clean. And their worship, even amid judgment, declares the deepest truth of the gospel, that the Lamb reigns even when the world shakes, that he is worthy even when the nations rage, that his redemption holds, even when the scroll is fully unrolled. The elders are not evacuated. They are enthroned. They are not silent because they are irrelevant. They are silent because they know when to bow low and when to rise. And rise they will, again and again, until the final seal is opened, until the last trumpet sounds, until the kingdom of the world becomes the kingdom of our God and of his Christ. And even then they will remain, because they are not visitors. They are citizens. They are not guests. They are family. And their place, secured by the Lamb, is eternal. Their presence in judgment is not a detail. It is a destiny, a testimony that the story of salvation does not end before the fire. It passes through it, purified, and comes out crowned. The vision is complete, and the mystery stands unveiled, not as a fleeting glimpse into the supernatural, but as a revelation of destiny, sealed by the blood of the Lamb and affirmed by the thrones already filled. The 24 elders, seated in garments of white and crowned with gold, are not metaphors wrapped in apocalyptic language. They are living, glorified saints, eternal testimonies to the full work of redemption. What once seemed symbolic now shines as a fulfilled prophecy, as a declaration to every soul who has placed their faith in Christ. This is what awaits. This is not reserved for the elite, for prophets, for apostles alone. The throne room is not a stage built for the few. It is the home of the redeemed. The elders are forerunners, not exceptions. Their seats are not singular honors, but signs of a greater inheritance awaiting the whole body of Christ. They are clothed not in their achievements, but in righteousness that was given, not earned. They wear crowns not for their power, but for their perseverance in faith. They are seated because the one who overcame the grave has seated them. And their worship, unceasing, ever-flowing, is the eternal response of those who see clearly what the cross accomplished. The elders are the fulfillment of Christ's words to the churches, to him who overcomes. He spoke not in riddles, but in covenant. And here, in John's vision, the covenant stands completed. Robed, crowned, enthroned, the destiny of the redeemed is not to float in clouds or vanish into spiritual abstraction. It is to reign with Christ, to commune with him face to face, to carry the weight of his glory not as burden, but as belonging. Heaven is not a sterile realm reserved for the angelic. It is the eternal seat of a family restored. And the elders are its first residents, a divine declaration that flesh and blood, once corrupted, now redeemed, can stand in the presence of fire and not be consumed, can sit beside glory and not be diminished, can worship without veil and never be silenced. The promise of Scripture from Genesis to Revelation was never merely escape from judgment. It was union with God, participation in his reign, life everlasting, not as survival, but as coronation. The 24 elders embody that truth. Their thrones encircle the throne of God, not to rival it, but to magnify it. For every time they cast their crowns, every time they fall in adoration, they reveal that their authority is not their own. It flows from the Lamb. And in this we see the destiny of the redeemed, not to become gods, but to become vessels of divine glory, to reflect the brilliance of the one who is both lion and lamb, judge and savior, king and sacrifice. The elders declare with every breathless bow that the kingdom of God is not coming, it has come. And in that kingdom, humanity has not been erased, it has been exalted. What was lost in Eden has not merely been restored, it has been surpassed. For Adam was given a garden, but the redeemed are given a throne room. Adam walked with God in the cool of the day. but the elders sit beside him in eternal glory. The trajectory of redemption is not circular, it is ascendant. The elders point forward, not backward. Their presence tells us that the gospel ends not in survival, but in sovereignty, not in return to innocence, but in glorification. And the awe of it all is this: heaven is not empty of humanity, it is filled with it. And not just the idea of humanity, but actual names, actual souls, actual lives transformed by grace. The throne room is not a symbol of exclusivity. It is the open invitation of divine love fulfilled. And if the elders are there, then you too might be. Not because you deserve it, not because you've earned it, but because the same Lamb who called them has called you. The same blood that robed them is available to robe you. The same cross that crowned them stands open for you. This is the shocking truth. Heaven is already populated by the redeemed. It is already echoing with the voices of those who once cried out from dusty earth, who once walked through shadows and trials, who once clung to promises that now blaze like stars above their thrones. The future is not merely ahead, it is already happening, and your story is part of it. The elders are not the ending, they are the beginning of a great gathering, a kingdom of priests, a holy nation, a family of sons and daughters, adopted by the King of Kings, and seated not as servants in the background, but as heirs in the center. And the invitation remains: to overcome, to believe, to endure, to run the race with the end in mind, not merely heaven as reward, but Christ as treasure, not merely escape from judgment, but entrance into glory, and not merely a place at his feet, but astoundingly, a seat beside his throne. The elders call us upward. Their crowns glimmer with the echoes of your own journey. Their worship anticipates your voice. Their thrones whisper of your place. Will you be there? Will your name be among those who cast their crowns, who sing the song that angels cannot, who dwell forever in the radiance of the Lamb? The door is open, the throne is set, and heaven even now awaits its full number. The Lamb reigns, the elders reign with him. And one day, if you overcome, so will you.